Dear brothers and sisters, my name is Anand Bala. I live in Hyderabad, India. The third wave of COVID-19 is already started and we must prepare ourselves to contain it. India has had more COVID-19 cases in the last few weeks than anywhere else in the world. We were cautious in the first wave. The story of the Dharavi slum in Mumbai is a good example of how infections were contained. It was a model replicated across the world, according to BBC News. In our fight against COVID-19, our Prime Minister successfully fought against the pandemic with the joint efforts of his government and civil society. Because of his excellent leadership, India has also earned the international goodwill, overflowing today through its far-sighted foreign policy of stepping up the provision of global public goods. World leaders had emphasized their giving back to India after receiving so much from it when their countries were in trouble as the pandemic was hammering them since COVID spread out of China and plunged the world into catastrophe. India has responded with speed and solidarity and extended vaccines, medical gear, pharmaceuticals and other assistance to 150 countries. India's large-hearted policy of helping developing and developed countries when they were in peril amassed so much soft power that it can dip into the vast reservoir of international empathy now. We now have to play an essential role in tackling the crisis caused by this COVID-19 pandemic. As the government faces unprecedented governance challenges, the pandemic has uncovered gaps in government coordination and evidence for policy making, directly affecting the nature and quality of the measures adopted to tackle the crisis and its aftermath. These challenges have led to several quick fixes and agile responses which required reassessment. We cannot simply blame the government or the leadership of our Prime Minister. We have to chip in our duty as citizens of this country. After all, we, the people of India, have resolved to constitute India into a sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic and secure to all its citizens justice, liberty, equality and fraternity. India's spending on healthcare is an insignificant percentage of its GDP. From numbers published by the Indian government, there is only one doctor from 1,500 people in the country. In smaller cities, towns and rural areas, the situation is horrible. Hospitals have inadequate equipment and staff. In some parts of the country, people have to travel miles to get to any medical service. Therefore, I am discussing with you here to set up high-level institutional arrangements put in place by governments to manage policy responses to the pandemic, with a particular focus on leading or supporting roles in three main areas, namely coordination and strategic planning, the use of evidence to inform decision making, and finally communicating decisions to the public. The high-level arrangement shall include the very active participation of our members of parliament, MPs. We as people of India directly elected 543 members representing parliamentary constituencies across the country. Broad responsibilities of these MPs to pass laws of India in the Lok Sabha under their legislative responsibility and to ensure that the executive performs its duties satisfactorily under their oversight responsibility, and finally to represent the views and aspirations of the people of their constituency in the Parliament of India under their representative responsibility. In addition to these basic responsibilities, all MPs must hold a command center in their constituencies and collect evidential information for the Prime Minister's decision making and maintain constant communication with people who elected them. The command center must have a centralized helpline number. When necessary, call for the military and disaster response team to build field hospitals on a war footing. The elected MP must restore confidence among his people that they are not left to fend for themselves. When we have an overwhelming situation and the need is so high, there is a disparity between what is available and what can be delivered. Oxygen is something that needs to be looked at, calculated, and prepared for, just like every other resource. There is a lot of media focus on oxygen when there is a clear requirement for nurses, ward attendants, doctors, and also medical staff. India has administered just under 150 million doses of vaccine. Some people have had 2 doses, but most of those vaccinated so far have had only 1 dose. India has a population of 1.3 billion, so it needs hundreds of millions of doses of vaccine to cover a significant part of its population. So far, vaccines are available to those over the age of 45, but it's unclear what stock of vaccines India currently has and how quickly made available to vaccinate people. As responsible citizens of our Mother India, we must assume, I repeat, as responsible citizens of our Mother India, we must assume voluntary works to inspect medical infrastructure and report to MP to bridge the gap. All MPs must focus on these issues and take action immediately. The salaries, allowances and pensions of all MPs amount to 200 crores per annum paid by the government in pursuance to the constitutional provision under Article 106. All MPs must forego their compensation for this year voluntarily and spend that money for medical and other expenses in their constituencies. No doubt their compensation was reduced to 30% last year, beginning April 2020 for the pandemic of COVID-19. Doesn't matter. Even if they lose 1 year compensation, they are not going to starving for any facilities. It is imperative they forego their compensation. They also must pass urgent laws or rules to subsidize the medical expenses up to 70% for each COVID patient. They must persuade corporates operating within their constituencies to supply essential items like ambulance services, medical, food, clothes, etc. All MPs must ask their party workers to ensure water supply, electricity, sanitation are all in order. All teaching professionals must come forward to help MPs by way of running camps to educate people and bring awareness. The coordination of district collector, the police and the local medical hospitals all should join hand in hand to work for a solution to treat people attacked by this COVID-19. Thank you.